Hello and welcome back. It's MC1 Gamer bringing you, well, again, something different. This has mostly been a channel about Warhammer and Warhammer related stuff, but occasionally I break out, and more I've been doing so, about other things that interest me. And today I want to talk about Game of Thrones. There was a leaked trailer, probably from one of the recent conventions, maybe PAX, that hit the net, and it's about season 5, and there's incredible amounts of foreshadowing and great details and just an amazing voiceover by with Varys and Tyrion. And if you have not seen it, go find it. It's out there before it gets taken down. I'm sure that HBO is going to pull a Marvel and leak it, put it out, because it probably wasn't ready to go, to premiere yet for the general public. But being that it's out there on the internet, it seems to be more and more, at least the best of what I've seen with responses have been, okay, it's out there, put it out there. There was one for Star Wars, fine, put it out there. One for Marvel, leaked for Age of Ultron, fine, just put it out there. And I think that's great. The response should be, hey, if you can't keep the lid on it, fine, just release it. So I'm sure we'll see it soon, but until then, if you want to see it, go find it, and because it's very cool. But I wanted to talk about, before I even go into some of the breakdowns, and maybe I'll talk a little bit more about Game of Thrones on future episodes, but I wanted to talk about, for those of you who are diehards, people who've read the books, people who are serious about the series, but who've also read the books, because there's deep level stuff in the books that you just don't get in the show. And if you watch the show and you read the books, you catch some of this stuff. There's certainly plenty of things that have been changed. There's certainly plenty of things that are not, totally consistent, or that have been hinted at. But they do a good enough job of following the story of the books, even with some of the minor tweaks, changes, because you can't fit, all the hours and hours it would take in these books to put into 10 one-hour episodes for each book. Even though they're breaking out, they broke out one of the books into 2 seasons, which I'm sure they're going to continue to extend the life of it, because they're catching up to the books, basically, to the end of the series so far. Before the next book comes out, they're going to run out of source material, so they're starting to get deeper and deeper into these characters. But I wanted to talk to you about a really interesting theory. Now, I've had conversations, obviously, with fellows and ladies and guys that I know that are very, very into Game of Thrones. And one of the things that really stood out in the last season was before, and hey, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen last season, you might want to click off now. But at the end of last season, Tyrion, who was on trial, is set to be executed for his supposed involvement in the killing of the king, who severely needed it. He needed to be killed. And he went out in perfect fashion. But Tyrion was not responsible, but he was basically set up to be the lackey, the fall guy. And he is freed by Varys, who's on the small council. He is the eunuch who is kind of the he's got his little butterflies that are all over the place, his little spiders rather, that are all over the place, keep feeding him information and intel. And he's got this pipeline that reaches even across the sea. And he frees him, and he helps him escape, and sends him on a boat across the narrow sea to, I believe, Bravos. And on the way out, Tyrion basically shoots his father, Tywin Lannister, with a crossbow while he's sitting on the toilet. And the repetition of a phrase that Tywin had said to Tyrion on many occasions was repeated, and that is, "You're a Lannister," and in other parts of the conversation, "You're not my son." Tywin Lannister, who is the patriarch of the Lannister house, is a hard man, and he's always despised, much as as Tyrion's sister Cersei does, despised Tyrion. And we've always thought that it was, and it very well is, including the fact that he is a dwarf. He is not, in the eyes of Tywin, a real, a full man. He's a half man, as they call him. And the imp. And he doesn't look at him as somebody who he would in any way want to succeed him. He doesn't put him into any appropriately equal to his intelligence and to his dedication to the house any kind of positions. He doesn't allow him to take over the house, the keep that is that is kind of the cornerstone of their wealth. While the rest of the main players, the children, are taking positions of authority and asserting the House Lannister as the premier house. So he's always being relegated to these silly roles or to temporary roles, and never given appreciation for the things that he does. And a lot of it has been looked at as, hey, it's because he's supposedly an aberration. He's this mistake, and Cersei hates him because in childbirth her mother died. So Tywin's wife passed in bringing Tyrion into the world. But when you really listen to the comments, it brings up some other thoughts, and I have this theory about this. The theory is that, well, first of all, let's first say it again. In different sentences, not usually together. You're a Lannister. He's usually berating him. You're a Lannister. So you have to live up to what it means to be a Lannister. And what it's instilling is the fact that he is a Lannister by blood. But then in other conversations, when he's lambasting him, when Tyrion is being lambasted by Tywin, he usually says things like, "You're not my son," and usually you think it's this negative thing where he's ripping into him and trying to trying to insult him. But maybe he's not Tywin's son. Maybe he's truly a bastard, but Tywin did not want to reveal that. Now let's go back. There's implications to this. He could be a product of the wife and mother of Cersei and Tyrion, the product of an affair, and that's why he has this horrid feeling against Tyrion. And in that, he hates him and he despises him, but because he still has Lannister blood, he also does not want to discard him, because Tywin also knows the value of family, and he needs these people. He needs these people to carry on his legacy. He needs these people to continue the name of Lannister and continue the level of power that they have and expand it. Because if he can't count on Jaime, who is in the King's Guard and is sworn not to take a wife or have children, or he cannot count on Cersei, who seems to always get in the way of his plans, then at least he has Tyrion, who he was hoping to marry off and take over the territory of the Starks in the north. But still, all these things are falling apart, but he's still trying to hold on to Tyrion as a Lannister, but he does not acknowledge him as his son. Okay, so let's explore that a little bit. Tyrion's mother. Well, let's go back to when the Mad King was overthrown. If the Mad King was overthrown, the Targaryens were taken down by the combined might of numerous houses, and among them were Robert Baratheon and Eddard Stark. And coming back from that war, we have in the midst of that war, and at the end of that war, the children of the Targaryens are killed. They're executed in horrible fashion by the Mountain, who is that massive guy who is one of the knights of Tywin, and he's brutal, and he kills he kills important people. I'm not going to get into all the specific details in this particular episode, but the important thing is that he supposedly had killed off all the children, and they were trying to stamp out the line of the Targaryens. And Daenerys, who is on the other side of the ocean and is building up her forces, is supposed to be the last Targaryen. What if some of these children were whisked away by people of various different types of ethics, for whatever reasons, one of which could be Tyrion? Now stay with me on this. Tyrion could be one of the lost Targaryens. He could be a brother to Daenerys. He could be, they had inbreeding. They were very well known for having brothers and sisters who would marry and become lovers and have children. So his deformity could be as a result of that. I mean, without getting into the notion of what is dwarfism and whatnot, some of these types of situations can be impacted from inbreeding within the family. So what we have is a plausible situation there, if that is true. But it also lends credibility when you hear that potentially maybe the Mad King had raped or had an affair with Tyrion and Cersei and Jaime's mother, Tywin's wife, and it was kept secret. And he was taken by Tywin in secret to raise him and to maybe protect him, but for what other, we don't know the story yet about what that is. What the rationale or reason is. We can assume a lot of things. But let's go take this another step further. That means there are two Targaryens out there. And another one of the Targaryens that has been rumored to still be alive is Jon Snow. A lot of people are theorizing, and they kind of build it up and hint at this stuff in the show, and especially in the books, that Jon Snow could be one of the lost Targaryen children. Eddard Stark came back from that war with a child that he supposedly had, and there was all this mystery of who his mother is. And it was assumed that and he had said, and he took it upon himself to get the negativism and hurt his relationship with his wife because of the fact that he supposedly strayed and had a child and brought that child in, and now it's a bastard son that he's raised as if it's as one of his own, but yet doesn't take the name of Stark. So Jon Snow is this sad heroic character that will never supposedly rise to take the name of his house, but yet maybe he has a higher name. He actually may be not the child of Stark, of Eddard Stark. He may be one of the Targaryens that was brought back in hiding so that they could preserve some of these children, even though they wanted to kill the Mad King. Eddard Stark is a principled person, and he would never want to just destroy and kill outright all these children that were left. Where others may want to stamp out the line, he may have been involved in some way to whisk away these kids, not necessarily to eventually bring them back or to usurp the throne, but just to save these children. But now there's supposedly 3 Targaryens, based on these potential rumors, that could be linking up and eventually looking to retake the throne. With Daenerys as the most senior, you could have Jon Snow and Tyrion Lannister combining, and Tyrion has already now been whisked away across the ocean, and Varys has joined him. And you see in this trailer that he talks about how Westeros that needs a leader who will be beloved, who is principled, and Tyrion laments about the fact that he will never be that king. He will never sit the Iron Throne. And he says, good luck finding him to Varys. And Varys says, whoever said it would be him? So it's never been so much hidden. It's always, since the early parts of the series, and certainly in the books, kind of alluding to the fact that maybe Daenerys could potentially be that person. But you never know with Game of Thrones. The things that you think are going to happen, basic conventions of storytelling, are turned on their head. It could be that the victory is snatched in the finale from Daenerys. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It looks like she is potentially the front runner as she's gathering her forces to eventually come back and lay siege to Westeros and take the Iron Throne. But interesting that she has 3 dragons. And if this theory holds water, there are now 3 Targaryens. And 3 Targaryens in history, hundreds of years back. More than that, because it's been 200 years since the last dragons existed, before the last one supposedly died out. So it's been even further back before the original Targaryens took control of Westeros, and they did so with 3 dragons and 3 dragon riders. So I believe that we're moving in a direction where we're going to see more high fantasy, where Daenerys, Tyrion, and Jon Snow are going to be mounted atop these 3 dragons, leading the charge in front of a unified army, with the Sand Snakes as these lieutenants and other advisors that are going to be gathered up. All these characters that are circulating around Varys, as well as all these advisors and strategists that are gathering up to Daenerys right now. But all of them seem to be navigating to her. Arya is probably going to be their chief assassin. This is what I envision, all coalescing into this assault to take back the kingdoms of Westeros. Now, we all know that this is a show that, again, it's not going to be a happily ever after. We've seen it even in other promos from previous seasons, with Tyrion even saying some of the most poignant lines of those seasons, where if you think that this is going to end well, you haven't been paying attention. Probably the single most important line that has been written or spoken in this entire story, whether it's the TV show or the books. So look at it from this standpoint. My prediction, and there have been many predictions, and this is probably part of these predictions have been propagated across the net for many a time. So none of this, but some of this stuff might be new. I don't know if any of these details have been circulating, but I know that there's been a lot of circulation about what might happen, who might be the one who wins, how might this end. I'll give you my vision right now, based on what I know right now, which is I think that the finale, the final confrontation, is going to be that assault with the three dragons, the three lost children of the Targaryens, and all of the other characters amongst them that are going to be, unifying against whoever is still left in Westeros after all the schemings and machinations. And when they finally do make that assault, and you'll see Daenerys sit finally upon probably a half-melted Iron Throne in the ruins of the Red Keep, after the loss of many of our endeared characters, some of which may survive, but many that we love and we care about are probably going to fall, if not in that final season, over the course of time between now and then. And in the ashes of the Red Keep, we will also know that the Game of Thrones does not end. Whoever is left, it will still be maneuvering and making plans within plans to usurp her and to take over the throne and vie for power and vie for influence. That's how I think this story ends. The story ends with the knowledge that whatever the cost was, and it will be heavy, where whoever winds up on that throne, will be there will be many losses. But it does not mean that there will suddenly be a happily ever after. No one is going to be living happily ever after in the world of the Game of Thrones, in the world of the Song of Ice and Fire. So let me know what your thoughts are. Go and take a look at this trailer. I'll leave a link down below. And see it before it gets taken down, because it clearly was not something that was officially released by HBO. And, let me know, feel free to discuss. And I'll have more Warhammer and Mordheim and other stuff for future episodes. Have a great day, everybody.